How's it going, everybody? Thanks for watching another video. A few videos ago I'd mentioned that we had gotten a new skid steer. It was a S740 and we're replacing an S76, and this is also an S76. A few of you guys had mentioned in the comments you would like me to review the S76 and what I thought about the machines. They're the new Bobcat skid steer series. We had two of them. They were both leased skid steers. This one here is it's a little over 2 years old, so I think June 1st would have been 2 years old. This one's on a 3-year 6,000 hour lease. The other one was on a 2-year 6,000 hour lease. So we have quite a few hours on these. We've got a little bit of a feel for what we like about them, what we don't like about them. A couple of our guys have a lot more hours in them than I do, but I have enough hours in them to know kind of what I like about them, I guess, and what I don't like about them. For the most part, they made a lot of changes going from the M series, I think would be the previous series, to this one. The booms are redesigned, the lift cylinders back there, that's all changed, how it lifts. The quick attach, they beefed that up a lot more. This quick attach is a lot better than it was on the M series, or at least I think it is. We'd occasionally have issues with the bushings up here and down below. Down, well, you can't really see it, kind of down underneath the cylinders here on the very bottom pivot point. We'd have issues with those on the 650s. That's the M series Bobcat skid steers that we replaced and went to these S76s. So they replaced the front window or the front door. Access is a little bit better. They changed the lighting. They have the option of getting lights here on the side. I think if we'd order new ones again, we'd probably put those on. Some of the things back here in the engine that they changed, so it's probably going to be hard for you guys to see. You can't really see it too well in there, but the engines used to be sitting sideways in here and they were belt drive. The belts would give issues every once in a while. Sometimes you'd break a belt or a pulley and they're kind of a pain to replace. But I will say that I much rather prefer that than what they have now. This is a direct drive, but they redesigned this whole engine compartment and it's really bad for dust. When we got these originally, we were plugging air filters every week, and we basically had to replace them because Bobcat says you can't blow them out because then it's not warranty. They sent us some filters to use in the meantime while they figured something out, and we went through, I don't know, probably 10 sets of filters in a couple months time. Then they finally figured something out that works a little bit better, but still this skid steer has dust issues back here. Underneath the engine, it'll get 4 inches or more of dust built up in there. And part of what I really liked about the old M series was that the way the engine sat, you had really easy access to the oil filter, really easy access to the drain for the engine oil, good access to the fuel filter. And now with that engine sitting the other way around, it's kind of difficult to get to the oil filter. You have to lean in there. If the engine's hot, you have to be careful that you don't burn yourself. And you have to jack it up, remove a plate underneath to get to the drain hose. And you have to take that plate off, and there's a small hole to clean out all the crap down below there. And it builds up with a lot of dust down there. It's hard to get out, especially if you get some rain and some water gets down in there. It gets hard, it gets packed. It's the old M series was much easier to service, or at least I think they were. I could do a whole service on their old skid steer in probably an hour's time, or 45 minutes even. And on this one, it's 45 minutes just to change the engine oil. They do have a big fan on here, a reversing fan. That's good. The grill stays fairly clean. The radiator stays fairly clean. We blow it out every once in a while, but that's not too terrible. The way it all works, it just sucks. I think it sucks all that dust in there, and then it settles in the back engine area. They did kind of fix that a little bit. They put some kind of a fan over here. I don't know if you guys can quite see that. It's pretty dark. But it's basically sucking dust out of the air filter, I guess. It works somewhat, but it's not as good as the old ones were. On the old M series, I would change engine oil every 300 hours, and I typically, in the middle of summer, when it's really dusty, I would probably change the air filter every engine oil change. But for most of the year, I would inspect it and change it probably every other engine oil change, so every 600 hours. Or if it gave an alarm that the filter was starting to get plugged, then we would change it, obviously. But this one, yeah, like I said, right away, we were plugging them every week, which is not ideal for a skid steer. And I feel like we're not even in that dusty of conditions. If you're on a construction site, I imagine it's a lot worse. The stickers that they're using on these, they weren't great on the old ones, but they're not good on this one either. You can see pretty much all the stickers have come off already. Just from cleaning it. It's kind of dirty now. It was cleaned here, I don't know, probably about a week ago. Probably when I should have shot this video, but we're here now. I feel like it's good for power. It's probably comparable to how the 650s were, maybe even a little bit better. We'll hop inside here. So you've got more room to get into the cab, which is nice. In the cab here now, I'll maybe leave the door open so it's not so echoey. One of the biggest things that I really dislike about these new skid steers, and you guys are probably going to think that I'm a little bit crazy, but the windows typically on a skid steer open in the front, so there's a slider here. You slide the window back, then your window right here is open on both sides, you know, typically from here up. On this one, it opens in the back. And why they did that, I have absolutely no idea, but it is a pain in the butt. So if you're ever driving and you want to open your window, you pretty much have to come to a full stop, because you can't reach over, or not easily anyways. If we're putting bedding in, or if we're raking our stalls with this skid steer, it's kind of difficult. Your windows basically have to be spotless clean. And even then, if you get a little bit of a glare, you can't see what you're doing. So on the other skid steers that we have, the M series, you open your window, you can see exactly what you're doing. On this one, you're kind of moving your head around, trying to get away from that glare or look through a clean spot in the window. And yes, I understand you need to keep your windows clean. And these, I mean, there's some dirt on here, but I would consider these fairly clean. Pretty much was to the point where we would pretty much not use this skid steer for raking or putting bedding in. We would use one of our other skid steers, just because it's just difficult to see what you're doing. And really what I don't like about it either is you really never want to have your windows open, because it's all the if you open your window, you have all that engine noise right by your ears. If it's dusty, you have dust coming in right, you know, in your neck. And in the winter time, when we're going in and out of these barns, there's a temperature difference in the barns, obviously, so your front window can fog up. On the old skid steers, you crack your window a little bit, and then that keeps your windows from fogging up. On these, you can't do that. So we're always carrying, well, you can see there's some in here now. We always carry some paper towel in here so that you can wipe your window down as you're driving, which I think is not ideal. You know, on the previous ones, like I said, you crack your window a little bit on either side or on one side, and your window doesn't fog up anymore. On these ones, you either have to blast, and even that doesn't work all the time, blast the heat, and the vents are kind of back here. There's not really any vents up here near the window. The closest vents are these. I mean, these are all the vents. There's two on this side, and one that blows down, two on this side, and one that blows down. And they don't really have the power to keep that window from fogging up if you're going in and out of the barns all the time. So that's a big dislike, the windows on this. Some of the other, so these controls are pretty similar to the M series. I think they're actually exactly the same. We do all hand control, so we don't have foot controls down there. You guys probably can't see that, but there is a throttle down here. We prefer that kind of controls. So the left side joystick is driving, and then the right side joystick controls your bucket, you know, up and down, you know, tilting the bucket. All of our skid steers are like that, and I really like that. I've driven other controls before, and I think this is yeah, the most comfortable for me, I guess. It's really operator preference, but all of our guys now are used to this kind of controls. All of our skid steers are the same. I don't see us ever changing that. And if you spend a long day in the skid steer, which occasionally we do, especially in our track skid steer, it's nice to, you know, just have to use your arms. If you have to use your feet and your arms, it gets a little bit tiring after a while. And I feel like with your hands you have a lot better control of what you're doing. It's a little bit more sensitive, I feel. The radio now is built in. There's a display up here. The radio is, all those channels are in there. It's volume down here, that's kind of like that, I guess. What I don't like is to unlock and lock the quick attach. You use these two buttons here, so bob attach up, bob attach down. That's to lock your implement onto your skid steer. That used to be on the right side here, which made a lot more sense because you could drive with your left hand while either unlocking or locking the bucket or whatever attachment you have on with your right hand. Well, now you can still do that, but you have to reach across your body. You have to reach across your body to the other side, which I think doesn't make much sense to me. It made a lot more sense when that was on the right side. And at, you know, at the same time, like some of these controls you don't really need to touch all the time, but your windshield wiper, it would be nice if that was on the right side, so that if you're driving you can hit that button, wipe your windows, and you can shut it off right away if you want. Just little things like that that I don't really like about this. And not just complaining to you guys about this, when we originally had these, Bobcat came out, and because we're putting a lot of hours on these skid steers, they were kind of wondering what we thought about them. We had the issues with the air filters plugging, so there was engineers out here looking at it, how they could fix it, and they had people here that can relay the message to their engineers about what we liked, what we didn't like, and yeah, told them all of these things that we kind of figured out right off the bat. I mean, you figure it out pretty quick, especially our guys that are spending, you know, 3, 4, 5 hours in these every day. They know what is good and what is not good compared to the older models. They changed something around with the way that these joysticks communicate with the hydraulic system. I'm not sure what it is, but they don't handle like the old ones did. The old ones, I feel like, were a lot more sensitive and a lot more what's the word I'm looking for? If you moved it a little bit, a lot more responsive, I guess I would say. It seemed like you could more easily do like tight work, or if you're really trying to get close to something with a bucket or whatever it might be. And even so, we use this skid steer for pushing feet all the time. You can see our feet pusher is on there now. It's difficult to drive in a straight line with this skid steer, and I don't know, we've kind of fooled around with the controls a little bit. There's the sensitivity changes you can make, and there's even, you know, the way how fast the left compared to the right speed is, you know, to kind of make it drive in a straight line when you push the joystick straight forward. But for whatever reason, these skid steers just like to wander kind of left or right, and it's almost like you're overcorrecting, but you're barely touching it. And then you're not even touching it, but it veers one way or it veers the other, and it's not one way all the time. So I'm not sure what they've changed there, but the M series definitely was not like that. It seemed like that was, sometimes you could have those where they would, if you're pointing it forward, it's kind of going to the right all the time, or to the left, but it'd be consistent, so you could know what, you know, what you're expecting, that if it's going to veer to the right a little, so you adjust that with your hand. Where these, there's really no way to know which way this thing is going to go. It kind of veers to the left or the right, or sometimes back and forth even. And I'm sure they're gonna have updates, they'll get better, but something there they changed. I'm not sure what it is. Probably something in the programming or something with the valves, I don't know. I'm not an engineer or a mechanic, I just drive them. I'm sure I'm missing some things, but if you guys have any comments or questions, or you want me to elaborate about anything, definitely yeah, let me know in the comments. The cab has plenty of room. Yeah, I'm not the tallest guy, but I can, you know, I can comfortably sit here with my feet, you know, stretched out a little, not a lot. I don't think there's any skid steer really where you can really stretch your legs out. The seat is comfortable. It's air ride. It is kind of long, it seems like, but this is so this is actually, we replaced S650s with two S76s, and the S76s are actually a little bit of a bigger model skid steer. I think the 650s are a shorter machine, but they're also a little bit, the capacity is a little bit less. When this last lease was up for the last S76 that left here at the beginning of June, I really didn't want to go back to another S76 because we didn't really like it that much. I was told at that time that 650s were coming back. They haven't yet, and I'm not sure if they're going to, but 740 was an option, and that's actually pretty similar to this size. They're actually about exactly the same in length. I think they can handle about the same amount of pounds. Was hoping that was going to be a good skid steer, but as if you guys were watching that video, we had some issues right off the bat. So I think we drove, or my dad drove it for about 5-10 minutes, and then the boom controls locked up, and it's actually been back and forth to town here probably 4 or 5 times already in the first month. I think we've only put 8 or 10 hours on it. There was an electrical issue somewhere, and our dealer was trying to find it, and Bobcat, you know, he has to go through his steps. Okay, try this, didn't work, try that, didn't work, on to the next thing, didn't work. So now I think he's replaced multiple harnesses, the controls, even the joystick itself, they were fooling around with to see if that was the issue. We were able to put 5-6 hours on it this last time, so we thought maybe it was good, but then the alarm came on again. He brought it to town, and I didn't actually ask him when he brought it back if he definitively found something that was wrong. They thought maybe the main wiring harness was bad this time. I'm not sure if he changed that or not, or if he found a wire somewhere that was maybe rubbing or outstretched, that it would kind of come out or, you know, wiggle loose. Because the weird thing was, it wasn't all the time. So sometimes you'd start it and it would work for a little bit and then it would happen, or sometimes you would start it and it was locked up right away, which is very frustrating and difficult to diagnose if it's not, you know, happening all the time. But it's back now again, so we'll see. Hopefully it stays around here for a little longer than a few days this time. Those were the main things about this new R series that I liked and disliked. I think there was probably more dislikes than likes. A little bit disappointed, I guess, to be honest. Anytime a company goes to a new series, there's going to be, you know, changes, things that you're not used to, maybe things that didn't work the way they thought they were going to, and that's understandable. But there's a few things like this window thing, to me, that really just doesn't make sense, and anybody that has a lot of experience in a skid steer, I feel like, would tell Bobcat, hey, you should make this change. You need, you know, change it back to the way it was. And a company like Bobcat has a lot of experience in skid steers, but hopefully they, you know, I know that we're not the only customers that had some issues with these new models. There's yeah, plenty of people that don't like them, and then of course there's a lot of people that do like them. But I hope that they make some, you know, little changes or little tweaks here and there, and I'm sure that they will. It always, or it almost seems like they engineer things in a way that they have to then come back and make updates to keep themselves busy, or at least it seems like that sometimes. I don't know if that's the truth, but that's like this air filter engine thing, then they have to go back to the drawing board and see how can we fix this, or how can we improve from the way it was, or even this window thing. I think now, I don't know if it was an option right away, but now you can get get these side windows without the cage, right? You can get this section cut out, which, I mean, you almost need that to be able to effectively be able to look out this window all the time. So then you can clean the inside of this window easily, because now really the only good way to clean this window is to unbolt it, take it off, clean it, bolt it back on. Well, that's, I mean, that's not something that you can do multiple times a day, or at least to me that's not a feasible option. I can't expect our guys to stop, unbolt it, clean it, put it back on if they need to be able to look out that window. That just doesn't make sense. It's easy to clean the outside, but not the inside. That's my quick review of these S76 skid steers. I haven't been told yet what our option is going to be for when this skid steer is up, because Bobcat is, like every manufacturer, they're really far behind in making new machines, and I'm told that we actually can't even order a machine right now if we wanted to, because they're so far behind. Hopefully some of these things change in the next few months, or hopefully sooner, but that's a little bit unrealistic. This lease is up June 1st of next year, so we always have the option of buying this machine, but we'll see how this next year goes, and if we even have an option to get a skid steer in time. We can also extend the lease, which is an option too, in case we order a skid steer and it's late. We thought this S740 was going to be late, so we were going to extend the other S76 for a month, but we ended up not having to do that. It came in time, but I don't know if we'll be that lucky the next time. We've kind of liked doing the lease thing on a couple of our skid steers. There's two. There's it's a 450 now that we have in our barn scraping. We put 3,000 hours on that skid steer every year. We have that one on a 2-year, 6,000 hour lease. Then, you know, one of these that we use for feeding all the time. Just seems like after 2 years with that many hours, it's still a good skid steer, but we need something that's going to be really reliable. And yeah, it's really worked out good for us to do that 2-year lease and then get into a new machine, run it for 2 years again, then get into a new machine. Then we stay in warranty all the time, which is becoming more and more important all the time, it seems like. It seems like there's more issues with some of these machines, and not just Bobcat, that's with any of our equipment and any equipment in general. Don't have any more points, I guess, that I can think of here off the top of my head. I'm sure you guys will have more questions or more comments, and yeah, I'll try to answer them if I can. Maybe at some point I can do a review of that S740, but I really haven't had much of a chance to drive it, to be honest. It's been at the dealer more than it's been at the farm here the last month, because it's been about a month and a half since we've had it. Yeah, appreciate you guys watching, and hopefully we'll see you in the next video. Just bring it back to the barn here so Federico can use it again when he needs to push feed tonight. But as you can see, well, we've got lights here on the barns obviously, but the lighting on this skid steer is pretty good. It's a lot better than the M series was, that's for sure. I like joystick controls too, because I can drive with one hand and hold the camera with the other. It's good if you're a YouTuber.